For the first time in the history of the St. Jude Classic presented by Smith Nephew, a European player wins, but wait until you see what it took for them to get there.
Settle in as we rewind the week with the latest edition of Monday Backspin from PGA TOUR.com.
It's no Kodak finish, but it'll work for Lee Westwood, winning for the first time in more than a decade on tour. Hello everyone, I'm Casey Black. What a tough run for Robert Garrigus. Looking to become the 8th first-time winner on tour this year, the 32-year-old had what seemed like a comfortable 3-stroke lead heading into the 18th. But with his tee shot in the drink, he was forced to drop. Garrigus then compounded his woes with his now 3rd shot in the trees. Landing on the opposite side of the water from the fairway, he was forced to chip it back into play. He finally hit the green, but 2 putts later, he carded a triple bogey, forcing a playoff. In the meantime, Lee Westwood was in the clubhouse watching. Both he and Robert Karlsson headed back out for the playoff. Garrigus' tee shot on the first playoff hole lands just in the worst spot, smack dab behind a tree. He's forced to chip out. He would go on to miss his putt for par to stay in the playoff. He ended up finishing in solo 3rd. He had this to say afterwards.
I don't remember swinging on the 18th tee. I got to the middle of my backswing. I felt good. I was just going to wait for the club head to come down, and had a nice draw in there, and wish he went left, and that wasn't good. But you know, that's all right. I made the putt to get into the playoff, which those little 3-footers for me get a little nerve-wracking sometimes. But I felt like I handled everything great today, except for one swing. You know, I'm glad that I even got into the playoff. That ball hit the tree and dropped straight down. It didn't go in the water. You know, it's just little things that you do to win, and I got to learn that. And you know, next time I'm in that position, I'm going to do it.
In the meantime, Lee Westwood and Robert Karlsson head on to the 11th. A couple of pars later, they then head on to the 12th. A couple of bogeys, they then head back to the 18th. With this putt to end the sudden death playoff, Lee Westwood sinks it to claim his first win on tour since 1998. He also became the first European player to win in the 50-plus years the tournament has been in Memphis. And besides the heat felt by the players during the playoff, the rest of the field was feeling the heat literally. Temperatures were in the upper 90s all week, the heat index in the triple digits. It was a scorcher, and that led a lot of players to get creative with their towels, from just wiping their face, to wearing it around their neck, to wearing it on their heads. They were doing whatever they could to find a way to beat the heat. Doug Bell is in Memphis with his perspective on the week.
Plenty of memories in Memphis this week at the St. Jude Classic. Number one, the weather. Again, it was typical Memphis weather. It was hot and humid. In fact, on the weekend, it was the hottest weather we've had all year on the PGA Tour. Who can forget that? Also, the European influx of talent, which improved this field immensely. We're talking some of the top players in the world, Ryder Cuppers like Lee Westwood and Ian Poulter, Padraig Harrington, Robert Karlsson, not to mention Rory McIlroy. It was fun to watch those guys play. And, of course, the seersucker jacket. Who else gives one away except the folks here in Memphis? But, of course, when you think Memphis, you think of Danny Thomas, you think the St. Jude Classic and all the proceeds that go to the St. Jude Hospital research for the children there. It is really unbelievable. The players go down there during the week. It is a heartwarming scene, and here's hoping. And it was the big news this week that this tournament continues. They have a September 15th deadline. Of course, they wore maroon ribbons on the weekend here in hopes of finding a sponsor to keep this awesome event going for a 54th year. We're keeping our fingers crossed.
Thanks, Doug. And here's who the tournament truly benefits. The St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and their mission to find cures and save children. Since 1970, when St. Jude became the tournament's sole beneficiary, more than $23 million have been generated to help the battle against childhood diseases. It truly is a great cause. Well, next week, gear up and get ready for the U.S. Open in Pebble Beach. The opening round coverage is on ESPN starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and then NBC will pick it up at 3 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget, on Thursday at noon Eastern, watch On the Tee Live. Join John Swantek, Brian Katrick, and myself as we get you ready for opening round coverage of Pebble Beach, the U.S. Open. Again, noon Eastern, On the Tee, PGA TOUR.com.